Hey guys, so this is my Drytron deck build. I'm going to take you through it. So I put this together with my friend Daniel. In fact, he's been piloting the deck a bit more than myself. In fact, he's done fairly well in a few different tournaments and actually took one that we did online over EDO, which was quite good. So it's been doing fairly well. However, this is a little bit different to his build. This is actually mine, so I'll take you through that in a minute. But before you get into it, just on a side note, some of the guys have mentioned that they wanted a bit more of an in-depth discussion on how to actually play some of the decks. So not only like the gist of what the cards do, which is what I'm doing with the deck profiles, but basically decision making, how the actual combo is played, why do you do each step, etc. So I'm going to be doing that going forward. We're going to start probably with the virtual world one, and then I'll probably do Drytron thereafter, and then take it from there. So definitely look out for that. So before we get into the profile itself, let's talk about Drytron and what they do. So their gimmick is for the archetype is that they ritual summon using attack power instead of levels. So for example, if you needed to ritual summon a Herald of Perfection, for example, you would usually need to use a level 6 or higher monster to summon that, or levels worth 6 or more. However, with Drytrons, what you need is attack power. So because Herald of Perfection is under 2000 attack, as long as you have 2000 attack power on field in Drytron monsters, or I think it's light machines, you can use that to ritual summon Herald of Perfection. So instead of you needing either level 6 or higher monster or multiple different monsters, you can just use one 2000 attack monster for the ritual summon. So the nice thing about that is all the Drytrons are 2000 attack. So basically at maximum you'll need 2 of them to ritual summon almost anything in the game. Also, they are able to ritual summon through their spell card any ritual monster, so they're generic. So because of that, you can actually toolbox some of these ritual monsters with quite powerful effects and get them on field very quickly. So yeah, so that's basically what they do. They are all, like I said, they're all light machines, and they cannot be normal summoned or set. They can only be special summoned by tributing either a Drytron or a ritual monster. That particular effect actually gets abused in this deck because there is a ritual monster by the name of Ben 10, which is a cyber angel, that if it's tributed, you can search a light fairy, and so happens Ben 10 is a light fairy, so you can basically start cycling her and then later on start toolboxing other light fairies out of the deck, which is extremely powerful. So the deck is able to, on turn 1, put up Herald of Perfection or Ultimateness, depending on the build. Some people play Perfection, some people play Ultimateness. In my build, you're going to see Perfection. And also they are able to put up Vanity's Ruler as well. So Vanity's Ruler is a 2 tribute monster, 2/5 attack, light fairy, and basically it says that your opponent cannot special summon while it's face up on the field. So while this is on the field, you can continue playing as normal, but your opponent cannot special summon. Now, this is particularly a strong card because firstly, it's a tribute monster, so automatically you would expect its stats to be high, and it fairly is. It's 2/5 attack, which means that it's very difficult for your opponent to normal summon something and get over this. Also, because your opponent cannot special summon, they can't kaiju over it as well. So you get into a situation where there's very few answers to this card. You're going to need to either negate it or destroy it. And there's quite a few decks that actually are not able to do that without special summoning first. So this becomes quite a big problem. And then you have Herald of Ultimateness or Herald of Perfection backing that up, basically defending it against any destruction or negations. So That's on turn 1. Obviously, that's not an unbreakable board, but it is definitely something that is quite formidable. Then the deck on turn 2, without any resources in hand, is able to make a OTK board and kill them, which is phenomenal. I mean, with almost zero resources, it can do that, and it can do that very, very consistently as well, which is extremely awesome. It's very, very, very strong. So getting into the actual deck list, we have 3 times alpha. So alpha is like the most important, I would guess, of the Drytrons, because it searches a ritual monster from deck. So you can search Ben 10 with this, and you can search the Drytron boss monster. You can search Herald of Perfection. So that ends up being a very, very strong card in the deck. So you play 3. You definitely want to see this as soon as possible. Then there's 3 times Zeta. Zeta searches a ritual spell card. Now in this deck, you'll see a little later that we're only playing 1 of the ritual spell. So and the reason for this is because it has a cycling effect. You can play it more than once and it can cycle itself. However, you want to get into it very quickly because it is part of the main combo of the deck. So that's why you play 3 Zeta. 2 Delta. Delta's effect is when it's special summoned, you can reveal a ritual spell or ritual monster and then draw a card. So it's basically a free draw. Also in the deck, just keep in mind you want to have as many Drytron options as possible, but ones that make sense. So you'll notice that I'm actually not playing one of the Drytrons, and that's because that effect is actually not really necessary. However, just having multiple options, like 4 in this case, means that you can activate 4 different ones because they all are hard ones per turn. So yeah, so 2 Delta and then 1 Gamma. I used to play 2, but I dropped it to 1. Gamma is basically special summon another Drytron to the field from graveyard, which is a decently strong effect, but with this deck you don't necessarily need board presence. What you really want is to be able to get these additional effects off and tribute, obviously, your Ben 10 in hand or field or wherever. So having the Gamma is basically just putting an extra body on field, generally so that you can normal summon Vanity's Ruler. Outside of normal summon Vanity's Ruler, it really does nothing. So yeah, so you just play 1. 1 is fine, because if you draw it, then it doesn't help you in any way. Then you have 1 times the Vanity's Ruler. So Vanity's Ruler, like I said, it's extremely strong, 2/5 attack. It can't be Kaiju. It stops your opponent from comboing. But it's also a light fairy, so it's searchable in the deck. You can actually search it through Ben 10. So that's basically what the combo is. You are running through the Drytrons, tributing Ben 10s until you can get to a point where you can tribute summon the Vanity's Ruler, put a protection up, and then end your turn. And that's either going to stall your opponent, stop them from playing, or it's going to make them waste resources getting over that, and the next time you just OTK them. Okay, so yeah, that's Vanity's Ruler. Then we have 3 times Ben 10. So in my opinion, Ben 10 is probably going to be the thing that's going to get banned if they do hit this deck in the future. Ben 10 is firstly not once per turn, and then if it's tributed, you can search any light fairy monster that's in your deck, including itself. So you can go Ben 10 into Ben 10 into Ben 10, and the last one into whatever you want. And then the deck, you'll see when I should do some combo videos, you can see that it actually cycles the Ben 10 even from graveyard and stuff as well. So that's very, very strong. Then we have Natasha. Natasha is probably the most broken card in the deck. Yes, I did say the Ben 10 might get hit, but Natasha is the reason why it will. And Natasha's effect is basically, now once per turn, when it's face up, you can target a monster, gain half its attack as life points, which is nice. That's both its effects is not once per turn. Yeah, then its other effect is non-targeting. Steal one of your opponent's monsters. And then special summon this by banishing a Cyber Angel in the graveyard. So basically you end up getting 2 bodies on field. Pretty much for free, 0 resources lost out of hand. You're stealing one of your opponent's monsters, so you're basically breaking their board. And then you're linking into like a OTK engine, such as like Access Code or Borrow Sword, and then you're going for game. So basically this card, turn 2, is a 1 card OTK engine. Break any board OTK, almost any board OTK from almost 0 resources. So yeah, this is really strong, and I think this is going to be the reason why Benjamin is probably going to get banned. Then we have Herald of Perfection. So Herald of Perfection, with this one, some people are playing Ultimateness. I'm playing Perfection. They do almost the same thing. Basically, they are both light fairies with around 2000 attack. Here, Perfection is 1/8. I think Ultimateness has a bit more defense as well. This one has 2/8. And basically, they discard a fairy. You can discard a fairy monster to negate a spell, trap, or monster effect. And in case of Ultimateness, also negate a special summon of a monster. Now, some people say that obviously gaining the special summon is better, so they play Ultimateness. Herald of Perfection can be searched by Preparation of Rites, so I feel that this is a little bit more consistent than Ultimateness. But yeah, that's a debate back and forth. But the idea behind Herald of Perfection is you put it on field, it protects your Vanity's Ruler, and also, I mean, this card is super broken because it's not once per turn, and it's also not once per chain. So you can activate it in the same chain more than once if your opponent like chain something else to try and get rid of it. So yeah. Okay, then we have 1x Meteorus Draconids, and it's basically the boss monster of the deck. It's got 4000 attack and defense. Can't be targeted by monster effects, and then I'm quite sure it's twice per turn. During your opponent's turn, quick, you can pop 2 cards, or you can pop a card. So that's quite strong. I mean, yes, it is like quite an intimidating card, but really the other two, Perfection and Natasha, put in so much work that I don't know if this is actually going to be doing a hell of a lot. I think it's more late game pressure than anything else. Daniel has been wanting to test out a combo where I think it's number 13. He puts that on field, and I believe that has an effect that your opponent needs to attack with all monsters during that turn or something. So you put this on field, you make your opponent attack with all monsters, and then basically they OTK themselves, which is, I think it's an option, but I feel like if you are able to put this on field and XYZ, you probably are able to do Natasha and the link line as well. So I think that's probably the better play, but we're going to test it and see what happens. Then we have 110 Lancia. Lancia in this deck, because it's a light fairy, it's searchable. So I mean, it's super awesome. You don't need to play 3. You have access to it whenever you need. That's good. Then there's 1x Dawn Knight. Dawn Knight forms part of the main combo in the deck. You basically go with Union Carrier, you equip the Dawn Knight, then you tribute the Union Carrier for a Ritual Summon of Ben 10, and then Dawn Knight basically dumps something to the graveyard. 1x Manju. Manju is literally only there because there are times where you are unable to go the Vanity's Ruler play, or you might be stuck. So you can basically search Manchu, normal summon, which means that you can't normal summon Banshee's Ruler anymore. And then continue playing, be able to search Ben 10 or the ritual spell and continue playing. So it's literally just to fix your play if you are unable to play based on your hand being bad at least. Then you have 3 times Orange Light. So in my opinion, Orange Light was and probably always will be the best hand trap in the game if it didn't say discard a fairy. So I used to play fairies in the past. I used to play agents and Herald of Perfection as well. This card is really nuts because it can be, you can activate it in response to any monster effect anywhere. So if they activate in banished, field, graveyard, from hand, deck, while you have monsters on field, while you don't have monsters on field, it negates and it destroys. So it's extremely strong. It's one downside was that you need to discard a fairy. Luckily for this deck, it can search this out of the deck, but it runs on fairies and the machine. So a lot of the time you have the discard fodder to actually activate this. One of the strong things about this is you can negate hand traps. So you can start playing, they can ash you and you can negate the ash. You can start playing, they can gamma you and then you can negate and destroy the gamma. So that's quite good. Even Libero, imagine a hand trap stops Libero, and they have that. Then we have Herald of Purple Light. Purple Light is basically the exact same thing, but for traps. So at the moment, because it's a control format, there's a lot of backline reliant decks. So you're gonna need to access trap negation at times. But this also negates imperm. So you can discard this and another fairy to negate imperm. So that's strong. Okay, then we have Cyber Petite Angel. So Daniel's build, I don't think he's running Cyber Petite. I've seen quite a few players run this and I've tested it myself. It seems strong, so we might actually revert to that. We'll see. Revert to running this. But the idea behind Cyber Petite Angel is one, it's a light fairy, so it's a discard fodder. But its effect is when it's normal summon, you can add a Cyber Angel to your hand, which is usually Ben 10. Now, this goes in hand with the next card, which is Eva. Eva's effect is when it's sent to the graveyard, you can banish up to 2 light fairies, I believe. Yes. And then search 2 level 2 light fairies from your deck. So you banish 2 and then you can add purple light, or you can also add this. And if so happens that you don't need to discard this to negate something, turn 2 you can normal summon it, add your 3rd Ben 10 from your deck to your hand and go full combo with Nasasha. So it's basically a play starter for turn 2. That's the idea. So it's quite strong. Obviously Eva's strong, I'll just explain what it does. And you're basically discarding Eva for perfection or something, so you're getting like 2 extra negates for perfection of Eva, so Eva's strong. Okay, then we have 3 times Fafnir. Fafnir is the field card for the deck. When activated, it searches either a Drytron spell or trap, so you can either search the ritual spell or you can search Nova. Ideally you want to search Nova, but sometimes there are situations where you need to get the ritual spell. So yeah. Okay, then 1 time the ritual spell. This card is strong. You can use it more than once per turn. It can recycle itself by reducing a Drytron's attack by 1,000, add it back to your hand from your graveyard. And you can ritual summon anything. You can ritual summon literally anything as long as you have the attack power on field. So as long as you have two or so Drytrons, you can ritual summon any ritual monster. Very, very strong. And we have 3 times Cyber Emergency. Cyber Emergency searches a light machine from your deck, which is any of the Drytrons, the main deck Drytrons. So very, very strong. 1 times Upstart, better to play 39 than 40. 1 times Foolish, I told you this is Dawn Knight in 1 card without any combo. 1 times Nova, I literally only have 1 Nova at the moment, so I'm playing 1. However, I'm playing quite a strong substitute for it, which I might consider playing both if I get 3 Novas. I'm not sure, we'll have to test it. But my substitute is Where Art Thou? So Where Art Thou is... Okay, let's talk about Where Art Thou's effect. While you control a level 1 monster, add a level 1 monster from your deck to your hand. During the end phase of the turn, take 2000 damage. You did not normal summon it. So, all of the Drytrons are level 1. So if you can put any one of them on field, you activate Where Art Thou, you add another one. All of them can be activated whether they're on field, in hand, or in graveyard. So it doesn't matter where they are, as long as you have one in hand, field, or graveyard, you can use its effect. So yes, Nova obviously special summons it, but as long as it's in hand, field, or graveyard, it's live. So this is basically the exact same thing. You do take 2000 damage, but Natasha can obviously mitigate that. Then you have 3 times Preparations of Rites, so that can add a level 7 or lower ritual monster to hand, which is either Herald or Ben 10 or Natasha. And then if you have the ritual spell engraved, you can add that back to your hand as well, so that's quite nice. Then we have extra deck. We have 1 Macabre. We have 1 times Nova, Sub-Dragon Nova, obviously for the Dogmatica matchup. We have 1 times Zeus and 1 times Foucault. So Foucault is basically it becomes unaffected by other card effects, and then obviously you can turn this into Zeus after you attack or do some battle damage. Then we have 2 Link 4s, probably play 3 if I could, but we have Borosword, Appaloosa, and maybe Access Code might have been the other option. Then we play a Nightmare package. Unicorn, Phoenix, and Cerberus. Obviously, Phoenix and Cerberus is link 2s that remove either spell and trap or monsters. And then Unicorn obviously spins a card, but the idea is obviously you getting rid of more of your opponent's field, and then eventually going into Borosword and then going for game. 1 time is Geonator, sorry. This card I think everyone's kind of waking up to, but it was a common, I think, in Phantom, which is quite strong. It's basically creature swap, if anyone knows what that card is. It's creature swap in a link monster. So as long as it points to 2 monsters, you can basically switch them. And the nice thing about this is not necessarily the actual effect, it's the board control. So this card only points to two specific zones, which is obviously the center zone if it's in the 1 extra monster zone, and the first zone in the other extra monster zone. So basically it nullifies those 2 zones. So if you're playing against a smart player, automatically they're trying not to put their monsters in those zones, just in case you're gonna Geonator it. And then if you pair that up with the next card, which is Relinquish Anima, then the zones in front of each of the extra monster zones are also off limits. So automatically by playing these 2 cards, you've cancelled out 4 zones. So your opponent is basically under pressure. If they put anything in there, or if they force it to put something in those zones, they have the opportunity to lose advantage just by doing that, which is nice. Then we have Union Carrier for the combo. IP, just because it's generic link 2, and obviously it links summon your opponent's turn, which is strong. Then you have Herald of Mirage Light. It negates spells and traps, just like Perfection in a way. However, if it's sent to the graveyard, I just want to see if this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card effect. So you put it on field, maybe conduct battle. Sent to graveyard, you can add 2 ritual spells or monsters with different names from your graveyard to your hand. So that comes up, it's important. And then you have a 1 link Rebo. So this is part of the combo. You need this. That's important. Okay, and then side deck we have 2 times Lancia, obviously completing the playset. This comes up against Dinos. It comes up against VW. There's a bunch of decks that actually get hurt if you can't banish cards. That's quite good. Then 3 times no material. No material is quite nice because it makes one monster exactly as the name says, can't be used as material for link summons, XYZ, Synchro, Fusion. So the nice thing about this card is it works against Zoo. Obviously the normal summon means that if you stop that, then they end on that normal summon. But you can use it against VW and stuff as well, especially if they go like into like a rank 9. Synchro 9, you can stop that from being linked XYZ material. And then also like no material is a fairy, so you can discard it for Herald. So it's actually not a break after turn 1 for you to use or to draw into no material. Then we have Droll and Lockbird. Droll is obviously good against Drytron, it's good against VW, it's good against like a handful of decks at the moment, Dogmatica, etc. Back row removal, we have 1 times Duster, 2 times Twister, 1 times Red Reboot, and then 3 Nib. Again, I still don't really like Nib at the moment, but it is threatening and it does hit a lot of rogue decks, so 3 Nib. Then honorable mentions, we have Lyrisk assembled. It's basically an easy way to get around monsters to get into Zeus. So this is something that Dan plays. I haven't tested it, but it seems really strong. I'm probably going to put it in. And then obviously Cross Sheep, because Cross Sheep it allows you to draw 2 and then discard 2 cards. So that's also quite strong. And then in the main deck, I know that some people are playing Photon Sanctuary, which puts 2 Photon tokens on field, and you can obviously use that to go into Union Carrier. Okay guys, so that's the deck profile. If you have any questions, please put it down in the comments. Like I said, I'm just getting started, so definitely subscribe and leave a comment and share the videos as much as possible. Keep on the channel for the next couple of videos. Obviously those are going to be ones where I'm going to go a bit more in depth into each of the decks and how to play them, etc., and strats. And then I'm looking at probably doing a few other different types of videos going forward on different days, so look out for that as well. Cool.